got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Alright, let's fucking go. Alright.
Awesome.
Give me 3 seconds and I am gonna do the intro and then I will run this thing up. Good seeing you,
good.
guy. Alright.
Good seeing you too.
Alright, let's do this thing.
From rolling tumors to roaring lampooners, the Tigers on a Roll show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Tigers on a Roll. The dust has settled on one of the most chaotic games of the Auburn season thus far, a 45-38 overtime loss to Vandy. An incredible offensive effort to stay in the game and a defensive fight that just could not get that one final stop. We're moving past the raw emotion and getting into the X's and O's. What does this loss mean for bowl eligibility, and what did we learn about this team's heart under DJ Durkin? What are the critical questions heading into the final stretch? We're breaking it all down right now on Tigers on a Roll, and we have got my great friend Walker Norris on the pod tonight, and I am bringing him in now. All right, we have got former Baylor High School slot receiver Walker Norris on the pod tonight. Walker, you are a diehard Auburn fan. What did you think of what you saw tonight under DJ Durkin compared to the rest of the season?
Yeah, I really like what I saw. We had a lot of heart. Our offense played unbelievable. I think it's just what all us Auburn fans have been waiting for, with Hugh Freeze bringing in all these high-powered receivers, bringing in, the stud running backs. We've been waiting to see just an explosion on offense, and we finally got that tonight. It just the only thing that really sucked tonight is we couldn't seem to get clicking on both sides of the ball. Our defense had their worst performance of the year. We were used to seeing not giving up over 24 points, but now we give up the 45, the overtime loss, and it stings. But I mean, the offensive explosion. Derek Nix had an awesome game plan, and I really think that's something that we can build off of.
I do want Auburn fans to recognize that Derek Nix, for the first time in his career, was able to call offensive plays for a full 60 minutes and really have a game plan drawn up for the guys that we have on the outside, and obviously Jeremiah Cobb. And I think that he did a really, really good job. Vandy obviously has a high-flying offense. They were almost about to come back to Texas, and they did come back in this game, unfortunately, against one of the most elite defensive units in college football. And DJ Durkin, in the post-game speech to the team, mentioned to the defense that they did not hold up their end of the bargain. What did you think about that? Because, Keldrick Falk obviously is a absolute dog and one of the captains of the defense, one of the only captains left on Auburn's team. I thought that they played okay. They gave up some big plays and obviously had some busted coverages, but Auburn's defense, what do you see with them coming into Mercer and then Alabama after the bye week? Do you think they get it together? I mean, what do we do here with these boys?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to get it together. I would be surprised if they didn't. They've had it together all year. And, I think missing out on Champ Anthony this game, kind of the quarterback of the defense in the back end, that's why we saw so many busted coverages, just not having him in, rotating a bunch of freshmen. We had our freshman linebackers who balled out, but 2 freshman safeties being back there trying to kind of coach up where the defense needs to be. I think that hurt a few times. And then Durkin also said Vanderbilt pretty much changed their whole offensive game plan. They ran a lot of tempo. They spread us out a lot. They were more throwing it all over the field instead of having to run as much as they normally do. So I think from that perspective, I think Vanderbilt did a really good job of setting themselves up for success while we weren't quite prepared to play that type of ball game against them. But I think against Mercer, against Alabama, I think we'll be prepared. I would just we need to see the offense have the game like they did today, and I think it's really promising with what Derek Nix did.
Derek Nix, I think, actually got with Durkin this week and was able to draw up something in advance because there was word on the street that Freeze was kind of calling it on the fly, and it really screwed up the guys on the field on how they were able to adjust to the actual game plan itself, more or less saying that there was no game plan. And then Nix had one, and you see what that does. We went from 10-3 Kentucky to, I mean, what was it? 30, it was like 38,
45.
Right. I mean, what an incredible change up for the Auburn Tigers. Cam Coleman was a man possessed today. 10 catches, 143, a touchdown, which he's only had. Well, first of all, he has 3 of them, and those were half of our entire offensive production for the year in terms of through the air touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion. I mean, he is going to have 2 of the top 10 plays on the ESPN top 10 tomorrow. There's no question about that. And then you've got Eric Singleton on the other side of the field, 10 catches, 143, and another incredible touchdown over the middle to get the scoring started. I think he ended up 102. Coleman was 143. Singleton was 11 for 102 with a touchdown of his own. That literally was a 30% production of the entire year. I mean, absolutely incredible showing. What did you think of how the offense looked under Nix's new scheme in terms of what Freeze was doing? And do you, at this point, right, now that we can be adjacent from Hugh Freeze, do you think that we were having 3 play callers on 3 downs under Hugh Freeze's scheme? Like, what was that all about? And it looked so different today, and I'm proud of it even with a loss.
Yeah, I think we definitely did have 3 different play callers or something like that. Maybe Hugh was trying to take the blame off him because with the games called by Hugh, we looked unprepared, for lack of better words. We were just unprepared. We were running the same 3 routes. We're running a go route, a comeback route, and a hitch. And that's all we did. And people were able to just sit underneath it and play safety over the top, and we couldn't do anything with it. But now we were a little more unpredictable. I mean, the first touchdown was a slant. Like, what a crazy concept. We ran a slant and we scored, and we had some success over the middle. We were hitting our checkdowns. Ashton Daniels had a phenomenal game. He was navigating the pocket really well. He was able to get out when we needed him to. Didn't really make many mistakes. I thought he played super well. I think we were really able to jump on what Singleton and Cam Coleman can do, and that's they can run a bunch of routes. They can get open. They can beat one-on-ones. They're those types of players. They're elite in the SEC. They're elite in the nation. And we really finally started taking advantage of that, which, as an Auburn fan, it sucks that we waited so long to see that. And that's, I think, what a lot of the frustration you're seeing tonight from fans are. It's just, wow, we could have had this, the past 2 years, past 3 years, having this sort of success, but instead we were stuck running comeback routes and hitches and goes. And, I just think it's very nice to see that we actually do have an identity. Derek Nix called an awesome name. He just did he did really well. He got the players. He got the ball into the playmakers' hands, and that's what we've been missing all year.
There's no question about that. And you mentioned Ashton Daniels, who had a good showing in the second half of his first start, or I guess the first game that he got into. And then he started against Kentucky, and we really could not do anything. And that goes back to Derek Nix being able to get his hands on the entire offense today. Ashton Daniels has certainly been a guy throughout his career who's prone to turnovers, has not done it yet. So good for him. But has also been a guy who's been able to perform in big moments because the guy has played power, 4 ball for the last few years, his entire career. And I thought, today that he more or less sensational because he was able to get it into our playmakers' hands and was able to control clock, which I thought was huge. And coming from the quarterback, having control over the game is so important when you are more or less outmatched. And I don't know if people agree with me on that. I think that Diego Pavia, first of all, let's put it on record right now, has beat Auburn every year he's played college ball, no matter what school he was at. The kid by himself can outmatch us. But Ashton Daniels was able to make good reads, with pressure, good reads, without pressure, good reads, ran it when he needed to. And I think that he was running a little bit of an altered RPO scheme today, and it was obvious on some of the pressures that he got. He was able to find people over the middle, which, by the way, to anyone watching, you are at Auburn able to throw it over the middle. A very lost concept on Auburn football, at least this year. But I do want to give a shout out to Ashton in the run game. He was pretty incredible, very patient runner. And he gave it to Jeremiah when it was beckoned upon him because Jeremiah ended up racking up 115 yards on 16 carries. I mean, you're looking at 10 yards a carry right there for tonight's game. Absolutely incredible. I said it on this morning's show. Jeremiah is an explosive guy, and if you can get him the edge on Vandy, you are going to give us a chance to do it. He ripped off a 23-yarder as his longest, and he was very, very efficient. I thoroughly enjoyed seeing Derek Nix's offense being called, and I also enjoy it for him because, as you know, he was under Lane Kiffin as an OC-ish, but Lane Kiffin runs his own offense. He was under Hugh Freeze as an OC. Hugh Freeze has his own offense. Derek Nix had a very incredible game plan today, and I'm actually not that disappointed that we were not able to pull off this win. Like, what I saw on the field today from Auburn was not as heartbreaking as it has been all season, and I really hope that a lot of Auburn fans see that and they're like, you know, I don't want to give us the we're close talk, right? But today was like legitimately like we can put points up with an offense that is known to score points. And it's like Auburn is now more or less actually close to doing this. What do you see this team doing in the Iron Bowl? We bring Alabama to Jordan-Hare Stadium.
And I think that's the biggest thing. You know, we're playing at Auburn. And that those games we've seen at Auburn, when the team is not as good as they're expected, we still give them a hell of a game. We're playing them tough. It's going to be fired up in there. It's going to get rowdy. I think if the offense can come perform like this, I think it could get real scary for Alabama, you know, and I don't want to take anything away from Alabama either. You know, I have them on my side over here. They're taking care of LSU. They're going to win this game. They're 7-1, about to be 8-1. They're a great team. They're probably going to make the playoff. But I think we're gonna ruffle some feathers there. I think we're gonna play well. And one thing I really like today that we hadn't done much this year is we actually went into 5 wide. We didn't have two tight ends on the field all the time. We didn't feel like we had to because Ashton is really good at navigating the pocket and getting out. You know, we didn't give up nearly. We got so used to seeing 8 sacks a game on us, and that was frustrating. But today we were able to spread them out and hit people over the middle, hit people over the top. We hit Cam on some dig routes. We haven't seen that be successful in so long. So I think we've kind of added a wrinkle to our offense that all the fans knew was there, but we just hadn't seen it happen yet. I think the Iron Bowl will be really fun to watch. I think 2 weeks ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said no shot. We're not going to be able to battle in that game. But now it's kind of like I think we could do something. I really do think we can make some plays.
I absolutely think that we can make some plays. I think that Alabama is obviously one of their teams of old. I mean, they have a high blue chip ratio. Those guys are some of the best college football players in the country. But you see the games that they have been close in this year, one of them being Missouri, which we were also, we went into overtime with Missouri, and Ty Simpson right now is a Heisman favorite, I believe. And it's just, there's something about it now under the interim that is DJ Durkin, who could potentially scheme up a game plan where Auburn does pull off one of those kind of historic wins against Bama. And we can obviously get back on here in a couple weeks and preview that. But I think today, again, it shines some light on some of the positives where we have paid a lot of money to have guys catch these balls on the outside. And we have a running back who has stayed committed to Auburn football over the last couple seasons. And it's like, it is coming together and, removing the barrier that was Hugh Freeze, unfortunately for Hugh Freeze and his family. But you see the potential that Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton have, which was told to all of us at some point, and today it came to fruition. And I don't want to leave out Alex McPherson. I mean, first of all, let's again respect to all those guys because they were absolutely incredible. Alex McPherson, though, today came back. The last couple of weeks have been really good for him. He was 3 of 3 today on field goals with a 47-yarder before halftime. Absolutely incredible to see that, given all of his health issues that he has had recently. But when you have special team, and Hudson Cock did not, muddy up a punt, I guess, kid friendly. We're not going to go too deep into that, but we have had special teams playing really well. The offense today looked like a real offense, the offense that Auburn put together in the offseason that was supposed to be playing across the schedule this year. And the defense obviously was stout. We unfortunately have some injuries back there, but I do think that if you get past this bye week and you gel a little bit more, you can do whatever you want against Mercer, and then you can go maybe secure that bowl, the game that gets you into a bowl against Bama. And I don't think Bama fans would love to hear that, but Auburn has a real shot against Bama because Bama and Vandy are not that different. Bama does not have a dual threat quarterback. Vandy did, and granted, they schemed him up because this was the first time that they have run some of those plays against anybody tonight, with Diego Pavia throwing a jump pass to get them into overtime or to score in overtime. But Alabama doesn't have that. Alabama has a very traditional offense, and I think that Auburn matches up well with Bama's defense or offense. And then I think Auburn's offense right now is not on film. I think Auburn's offense matches up well with Bama's defense. And I'm not going to say they're bad, but historically they're not the same Saban coach defense that they have. So I think that looks really good. But I do want to touch on the Mercer game, though. What do you think Auburn looks like against Mercer? And does Deuce Knight get meaningful minutes against Mercer? Because there is this big red shirt issue with the two of them, with Ashton Daniels and with Deuce Knight.
I think for Deuce against Mercer, you have to give him the whole game, pretty much. You want to keep Ashton Daniels redshirt. He's come out and he's been on fire for us. I think you get Deuce some meaningful minutes. You get him those reps that he needs. He had very few reps against, I think it was Ball State earlier in the year. So I think he needs to get out there and start throwing the rock and getting that confidence under his belt, and get used to throwing to guys like Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, because a lot of people are talking. You hear a lot of chirping that those guys are leaving. There's no way they're staying at Auburn after this year. But from what I've seen, is those guys really love Deuce Knight. So if you can keep them with Deuce and you keep the whole team together, that would be huge going into next year. So I think just getting him these snaps, getting him rolling, he's supposed to be the guy. He's supposed to be the guy. He's our 5-star. He's a big boy. He can throw the ball. He can run. I think you got to give him all the minutes. I think he's the one you look to against Mercer, and I think you really start to settle in this new Auburn offense that we're seeing. The more we spread the ball out, we have Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and Perry Thompson. They're all matchup nightmares. They can all get open. They're all great. You have Jeremiah Cobb, like you mentioned, who was averaging nearly, what was he? He was 7.2 yards a carry tonight against not a bad defense. So I think, once you get the ball rolling and the offensive line looks a little better, and they're going to look better against Mercer, so he's going to have some time to really go through his reads. I think you give Deuce Knight the ball against Mercer.
And we had a couple issues tonight for sure with some, just procedure penalties on the offensive line, which we had all year. But you saw Mason Murphy come in and play a lot of snaps today at center. Cale Ellis is obviously going to be an integral part of this team for the next few years, but I personally am really happy that he was able to be sidelined today, and Mason Murphy come in, and the offense still look competent and gel even when you move starters around on that offensive line. Did you see anything today that was a huge warning sign for you in terms of like what granted, we only have 2 games left in the season, but like, was it good? Did you think that it was viable? Because I thought it was viable. Was there any issue that you saw on that offensive line, or did you kind of you were like, this is a good recipe because Ashton can play behind it?
Yeah, I think it's a good recipe. I think, like you said, Kale is going to be a huge part in the coming years, but he's not quite ready yet, facing those SEC teams. You saw against Kentucky, like they're strong and they're fast regardless of what team they're on. So I think Mason Murphy kicking inside the center, I think he played better at center than he has right tackle all year. So
There's no
having too
question.
tall, yeah, throwing too tall out there and being able to put him at right tackle and plug him in. And then, as long as we can get Big X to stop having those procedure penalties, man, we would be in a great spot. That one on the 1 yard line when we went heavy package, and I'm not gonna say it was for sure a touchdown, but the odds were it was probably a touchdown. I mean that was a killer there. And then I think he had 2 or 3 today. So I just getting him zoned in and locked in and staying away from getting behind the chains, like that's been killing us all year. If we can continue to start on the right foot each drive, I think we stand a great chance. But like I said, I think Mason Murphy kicking inside the center changed the whole trajectory of the O line for the rest of the year.
I think it made us a lot stronger because we had that experience in the line. There's no question about that. And I don't want to hold you too long, but I do want to point out, though, we started that second half. We get ball back after some good stands. Obviously, Vanderbilt ended up scoring on that, but we were still up. Tough look from the Auburn offense because they were letting up pressure. I was not super concerned about that, but it is unfortunate to see us not score points there. I think that Derek Nix knows better than anyone else. Of course, DJ Durkin does as well. You've got to capitalize on those opportunities, and when you can put a drive together, I actually have a full faith and confidence in the coaching staff that we have right now to do that in the next 2 games, and I am really excited to see how that pans out for them. But Walker, again, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long, and I appreciate you hopping on. Your insight is absolutely incredible. I know that you are a certified ball knower, and you are a huge Auburn fan, a diehard, just like me. And I love to get your take on all of that. I really hope that Auburn fans agree, because today was unfortunately a loss, but it was also a massive step forward in the program as it relates to the previous games that we have really looked stagnant in. I thought we looked really good, and I am excited to see how the season pans out. Again, I agree with you also. Deuce Knight needs to be the future of this team. He is an absolute dog, and there is something to be said about getting Cam and Eric both 100 plus yardage game today, plus touchdowns. Cobb getting big yardage. That needs to continue, and there is a real need for Auburn to look hyper confident in the next couple games. I want to get your take on this because I have not had someone on just yet as the coaching search started. Give me your top candidate or your top 3 candidates for Auburn's next head football coach.
Yeah, I think DJ still stands a good chance. I like DJ. He had 6 days to turn the team around, and he really did numbers turning this offense around and kind of getting the guys to buy in. So I like him there. I'm not saying he's my number one, but I like him. A lot of talk about Summerall from Tulane. I think he'd be a good option. I think he's a good fit for us as well. He says the right things. He's a winner. He goes to Tulane and he wins. He wins at Troy. I think he'd be a great choice. And then I like Brom from Louisville. I'm not saying that's super realistic, but I like him a lot. I think he would do really well at Auburn as well.
Yeah, Jeff Brom is in the conversation as of the last couple weeks. That my third guy, that is one of those ones that is not necessarily a realistic option, though, is still going to be Lane, because we were so close with him. I really don't think Auburn ponies up the cash. Summerall, from what I've seen, is cut of the same fabric as Pat Dye, which I think would be absolutely incredible for Auburn's program. And then obviously you have got DJ Durkin in the mix, who is currently auditioning for the head coaching role. I would love to see him stay in his DC role that he's excelled at, and he has any staff that you could put in place. I would love to see DJ stay in, but we will not know until that all shakes out how it's supposed to. I believe John Cohen said as soon after the Iron Bowl as possible, they will name a head coach. And you know what? Candidly, I think that anything that you put in place is going to be better than Hugh Freeze this year, at least. You know, I think that he was the man for the job when he was hired, and he really did turn recruiting around, but he was not the man on field that we needed. So that next guy needs to be the stud that we're looking for and bring Auburn back to, its former glory. But
Yeah.
Walker, yep, go ahead, baby. I like it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Hugh did a great job bolstering the roster. I know it is the NIL era. People will leave, people will want to stay, but I think the starting point for this next coach is far greater than what Hugh Freeze had to deal with that first year, trying to bring everyone in from the Harsin era when we were really left not a lot.
Yeah, Auburn was a glorified Sun Belt team when Harsin was fired. So I will say this though, because I know it's very contentious right now on social media. I do appreciate Hugh Freeze for what he did for Auburn. I don't know why his daughter thinks that Auburn does not love them back. That was an absolutely insane transaction, I suppose you can call that, interaction. I don't know what she's talking about. Auburn did nothing but love them. We poured resources into it. He just wasn't the guy for the job. And you know what? Again, shout out to him for doing what he needed to do. He just could not get it done on the field. And I think Auburn can go into next season in a really good position. And you and I will certainly talk about that week of the Iron Bowl. And obviously, when the next head coach is named, Walker, I would love to get you as a regular guest on the pod. If you did not know, I want to give a shout out to all the listeners. We have been averaging like 3,000 views per podcast over the last week. So thank you to all of you. We will not be doing a sponsor ad read today. I did an engagement with one of our sponsors this afternoon. And I will tell you what, it was a great networking event with the Orlando Auburn Club. Any club in any, so Walker, you're in Chattanooga, correct?
I am.
Chattanooga, there's a Chattanooga Auburn Alumni Association club there. Every major city has an Auburn Alumni Association club, and I give them the biggest props on doing all they can for current students and alumni at Auburn University. So if anyone's watching this and they have not met up with their alumni association club in their respective city, you need to do it, because those are great people. And guess what? Y'all are Tigers fans, and there is nothing better than that than being part of the Auburn family. So big shout out to all of them. And Walker, I will be talking to you soon. I appreciate you getting on the pod tonight, and we will get our thoughts together as Mercer and Alabama come up, and we will preview those games, no doubt about it.
Absolutely, it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
War Eagle, guys. I think we're in a good spot.
I think we're in a great spot, Walker. Again, I appreciate you hopping on, and we will talk soon.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you.
See ya.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching tonight's post-game pod for the Tigers on a Roll podcast. That is our review of the Auburn-Vanderbilt game in Nashville. Auburn drops that one in overtime, unfortunately, but it was a very, very good showing, in my opinion, and that is what Auburn should look like. Vanderbilt ranked number 16. Auburn, obviously, unranked and struggling, and they, unfortunately, add another game to the loss column. But we have nothing but love and hope for those boys on that football field. And we will see for sure a win against Mercer, and we will absolutely see how this game goes against Alabama the last week of November. But as it goes, we do appreciate you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on X/Twitter at Tigers on a Roll, and we will see you.